Good everyone, out here walking with Nala, the dog, in the lovely forest. Something I've been pondering on a lot recently, as someone shared a talk with me a week or two ago, is the importance of cultures having, and interestingly enough how our modern Western culture doesn't have, some sort of coming of age rituals or rites. Rituals is a scary word for people to use, such as vision quests or pilgrimages or spirit journeys and stuff like that. And I'm sure one example that many people have heard of is the Native American vision quest. And often when you reach a certain age in life or a feeling of readiness, you'll often strive out into the wilderness alone, go on a journey, and some cultures you'd even find your name, find something to do with your life calling, and maybe just find some direction and some vision in life, and experience almost kind of awakening, as often it actually marked the point where a person was no longer considered a child and they were a fully self-realized being. And how interesting it is that, all of these at a core are essentially an experience of going alone into often the wilderness or on a, trail to some holy pilgrimage site or city or something. But go for a long time alone, just you and whatever you believe to be your faith or purpose in the universe, and just going out, doing your thing. And some cultures aided it with a plant medicine, many didn't. It's interesting that we don't really have anything like that per se. People might say that like an OE, an overseas experience, I think that's what it stands for, is the equivalent, but for a lot of people that's just like going overseas and partying, or like, kind of going overseas to still buy stuff and consume and whatnot. You're not actually really spending time alone. Especially not on like a mission. Many people, they do, that's a very blanket statement, but also that we don't really have a sense of a vision quest anymore in our culture, and that's just left so many people. Sorry, I just had a massive mind blank. I just had to stand there trying to think about what I was talking about. I'm back on track. They spend their time going from 5 years old into school until they're about 18. Some people freaking 23, some people like 28 even. Spend their whole life in one institution, and one kind of, doing one thing. And then many are just expected to just jump straight into the working world and just go straight into doing that. No time in between to listen to the self or be with the self. No time to really actually kind of come into your own being or standing on your own 2 feet for many people. In a sense of, spending some time actually not having someone telling you what to do, and not, having someone hold your hand or doing things for other people. Just spend some time actually alone in here. So helping sort things out, finding some perspective, figuring out why you are the way that you are, why you think, how you act, especially because all these vision quests and pilgrimages and etc., you would often go into nature where you're stripped away from your standard environment and surroundings, and it really is a chance to help rewire the brain from neurotic tendencies, especially if a lot of it is to do with your environment and surrounding, or personalities or behaviors, especially if a lot of it is to do with the people that you're around and just your environment in total. Just changing your environment can be a massive catalyst to change sometimes, especially in a sense of like how your brain works chemically in neuroscience. If you change up your environment, you're changing one of the key factors as to what is actually firing certain neural pathways and getting, certain mind states ingrained in the brain. And if you then go and change up everything at a core by changing your environment and what you're doing and what you're being, it changes how your brain, it essentially rewires your brain. It's science. And You can do anything without changing the environment, but at a core, it is just a huge tool for enacting massive change. And then also, so it helps some people with letting go of the past, especially if you're still, you're living in a place where you've grown up with all your childhood traumas, everything that's ever gone on in your life. You have exes around you, old friends, all this stuff that people tend to hang on to, especially if it's still around it and they're still associating with people associated with it. You can get caught up in it all, and just changing your environment can be huge. Anywho, it just always makes me ponder and thinking about things like this, because, I also, straight after leaving education, went straight into the working world, working a full-time professional job in the trade industry, and just doing what I thought was the societal standard thing to do. Had a partner, had a house, animals. One point I nearly had kids on accident, and one point I was married. Those of you that don't know me, I was married at 19 and separated not long after said marriage. Is what it is. Both learned incredibly from it, and I would never be where I am today if I didn't have that incredible experience of such advanced, intimate experiences from a young age of, being with someone from 15 to 19 is a massive part of my developmental years, being in love and the ups and downs that comes with that. Anywho, where was I going with this? Completely mind blank. Yes, right. I went straight out of education to working and living that life, trying to build for a future, which, and me saying all this, I completely understand that if you're trying to build a future for goals that require money, and because a lot of things do these days, good on you, knuckle down, and just remember to actually be living a life at the same time. But anyway, where I was going with that was that I went through that life. I still, after 4 or 5 years of earning a lot of money, found I was unhappy, spending all of my money I was broke all the time, spending all my money on drugs and alcohol and video games, and even just the stuff of life, food, rent, animals, buying people things, buying myself things, just consuming, you earn money to spend money, generally, especially when you're young and haven't learned to regulate yourself much that yet. And ultimately, I was just spending my life gratifying my senses, and it wasn't until I actually stepped away and went and spent some time alone that I started really actually coming out of all these conditioned habits, and most of them just escapes, like basically spending all of my teenage years from 12, 13 until about 21 just constantly playing video games. From 14ish onwards, just constantly smoking weed, lots of porn, masturbate, just all like gratifying the senses, all of it. And I never was a massive drinker, mainly just because I'd always get so sick, even though I could drink a lot. I've definitely got European blood in my veins. Not sure which the trail goes, I think it's this way. Anywho, I spent my life gratifying my senses until I started realizing I wasn't happy, and I'd never taken the time to step back to look at my life from a disconnected perspective. That's the thing, is when you're so caught up in that life, you don't know, and you haven't known, attacked by a fern, anything else. So just being able to take a step back, I just had like rips in my hair. Man, I'm looking a mess now. Take a step back from your environment. That's Eva. Oh, there we go. The other dog on the property. Good friends with Noah. When you can take a step back from your environment, you can have massive change. And also part of the reason why I've been inspired to... Sorry, I'm so all over the place. My hair again. Gosh, I should have a hat on. Part of the reason why I'm so inspired to talk about this is because I always have people encouraging me and inspiring me to talk about it. I honestly, shit you not, traveling around as a young person, right? And traveling around in a van solo and actually being out there during the days and getting the time to connect to people and have life experiences with also other souls that aren't just caught up in the hustle bustle. So many older people are saying that young people aren't out here doing these experiences anymore as much as they used to be. And that, for people to see that there's people kind of stepping back from the standard life and actually getting some perspective and some life experience before they knuckle down and jump into things. It's really good. It's what this culture and this civilization, this society needs, is some more, people that have had more perspective and experience. So many people can't even really function that much by themselves today, in a sense of they don't really know how to do that much outside of what they've essentially conditioned themselves to always do. They just do the same things. But if you could just change up your environment, you go on a quest, you go on a mission, especially if you actually have an objective such as some kind of self-growth, letting go of the past, opening up way for new love, letting go of old habits, healing physical trauma, all these things. If you go out on a mission to do these, you will succeed. Might take time. That's the thing, is having these physical bodies, is that it takes time to allow time to catch up to us. But if you set out a mission like that with full faith and belief, it'll often come to fruition. And even if it doesn't necessarily come to fruition how you expect it to be, because often things aren't exactly how we expect them to be. Hello, Eva. She's such a friendly dog. She's still quite a puppy. You will get some vision out of it. That's where I was going to finish that, is that you will get some vision and perspective as to who you are, how you want to live. You'll see that not everything is an absolute. You aren't always going to be the way that you are. You can change at any moment. Oh, tired dog. And I get people inspiring me all the time to go out there and spread the message, literally even saying those exact words. Had a beautiful moment the other day where my plans changed and my Verco ended up needing work done, so I ended up having to hang all day around in town, and it was great. Ended up having some really nice experiences, and I was just chilling at a park, ended up there for like 2 or 3 hours, because this guy that, as soon as I lay down on the grass and covered my face with my hat, like 3 seconds later came and sat at the table. Lovely, like 49-year-old Māori man, Lad was his name. Great guy. And it was super nice, and he came up and we hung out, and he just straight up asked me, so what's some of your story, brother? And I was like, oh shit, that's a loaded question that comes with a loaded answer. And so we spent a long time talking and connecting, and he was just, the main thing that he kept getting back to was like, yes bro, you get out there and spread the message that you have to spread of young people stepping away from their destructive habits, stepping away from their lifestyles, and actually getting out there and experiencing some change, experiencing life. There's the saying, life is what happens when you're busy making plans for it. If you're always standing in the way of your life, it's very hard to let life happen, because it often takes a surrender and a stepping back and a letting go of trying to make everything happen all the time. And leaving room open for new things to happen. And if you do the same things all the time and you're in the same environment all the time, you'll just end up stagnant being the same person, because how are you going to change if you don't change what you do? And often, how are you going to change what you do if you don't change where you are and what you're actually physically spending your time doing? There's a saying from Lao Tzu, who's a Taoist philosopher, I believe Taoism, one of the Chinese ones, and he says, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habit. Watch your habits, because they become your character. Watch your character, because it becomes your destiny. And so this sums up so well the fact that what you think becomes what you say, becomes what you do becomes what you do all the time. What you do all the time becomes you. And when that is you, that is what your reality is going to be. Does that make sense? It makes sense to me. I hope I summed that up well. And just So much of it comes down to conscious awareness of our own thoughts, what we're doing, why we're doing it, importantly, and how we can change things up in our life to change what we're doing, if that's what we want to do. If you're happy where you're at, and it's serving you a purpose, and especially if you're conscious and aware of why you're doing what you're doing, then frickin' amen there. More power to you, my brother or sister. But if you're lost for purpose, if you're depressed all the time, if you're anxious, if you're wondering why do you keep doing these destructive habits that make your life so much more dramatic, so much more chaotic, if you're thinking, why does this always happen to me? Why? If you're not actually satisfied with things, then start asking why. Start actually asking and start listening for an answer. Start cutting out some of the chatter that distracts us. Some of the habits, so many of the habits and the lifestyle that we've built just to distract us from listening within. And, we spend a life chasing money, essentially. Many people to service their bills and, all that. It's part of the world now. But if you're not truly happy, which so many people aren't, and the most developed areas of the world have the highest rates of unhappiness and some of the highest rates of suicide, New Zealand especially among young people and men specifically. Crazy high suicide rate in New Zealand. I lost a cousin to it recently. And, if people say, I just want to spend their life chasing money and thinking that it's going to make them happy or that it's actually a good purpose, you can objectively observe that money does not buy happiness. And you think, yeah, well, it would solve a lot of my problems. And I know this is the time-old debate, but you can objectively observe that if a country has more wealth, it does not mean more happiness. And if you say otherwise, you're lying to yourself. So much of the time that just buys things that numbs the symptoms of our pain and our hardship. That's not bringing you happiness, that's bringing you temporary relief from this pain and injury that you still have. So it's essentially just a temporary drug. My mouth's getting very dry. I'm talking a lot longer than I intended to. It's going very deep. Anywho, let's end it on a happier note. Vision quests, spirit quests, pilgrimages, missions, whatever you want to call it. Get out there and do it, man. And it doesn't have to be a permanent thing. It doesn't have to be some crazy massive adventure. Even if you just change your life up a tiny bit every day to maybe spend half an hour in nature or an hour in nature or going on a walk, having your bare feet on the ground, it can change your life. If you actually spend time designated to listening to yourself and talking to yourself and loving yourself and helping yourself through these things, it's massive. But if you can commit to going on a life-changing journey, your life will be changed. Let me tell you that. Whew, I would not have had anything near the experiences that I've had today if I continued to work in the office job that I had for 4 or 5 years. It's unreal, the amount of variety of experiences that I've had pass into my life through actually allowing that. Oh, that's one thing I wanted to share. I nearly finished this video without sharing it. I'm going to make a longer video on explaining it more another time, but I wanted to talk about, let me have a drink, my throat's so thirsty. Far out. I wanted to talk about what I've been doing to change my environment and allow me better to be out there exploring the world. And this thing is global, it's all around the world. And it's called woofing. It's where you exchange your labor and you essentially just work for getting all flustered, where you work for accommodation and food. So you just go and stay on someone's property. Often it's like orchards or farmsteads or homesteads or even just people's property that they have a garden that they need weeding. Like, there are people that are out there that'll pay money for you to do their stuff. And a lot of them will even pay sneaky cashies. They're not allowed to say that because it's illegal, but it's called woofing. There's a app called Workaway, which you can go and sign up and look at them all around the country, all around the world. And, you know, some will only pay for your accommodation, so you're going to stay with them and then you got to suss your own food. But then many of them, most of them, are food and accommodation. You just go and work there. Usually it's doing whatever, all kinds of stuff. Often it's like property maintenance and, you know, gardening and weeding and all kinds of stuff. But I've done like earth building and just, oh God. Again, I'll make a bigger video on it because I've done a lot of stuff in the time here, and it's all around the world, all around the country. Next year I'm going to go to the UK and travel around with using woofing. I've met beautiful people. That's the thing, you know, everyone, especially at my age, you're like, oh, I want to meet new people, but I don't know how to. And it's really hard if you're not doing new stuff or in new places to meet new people. And this is a great way to do it because you end up just stuck living with people. And how do you get closer to people than when you're living with them and working with them all the time? I've met beautiful people, made beautiful connections, and so many people my age haven't even heard about it, especially in this country. Yeah, it's called woofing. And it can be anything, and it's all around New Zealand. It's all around the country. You should check it out if you're interested in going and changing up what you're doing. Even, you know, some places will let you even stay only like a week or two. So you could just go, literally you just want to go to a new area, but you don't want to pay for accommodation. Fair enough. Even at a cheap like hostel these days, they're like $60 to $100. And anywho, yeah, you can go and travel places like that and meet locals who have the good, you know, rundown on places to go and yada yada. It's a great way to get around. So that was one thing I really want to share is to let people know that there is actually alternatives out there to just hustling just to be able to pay your bills, man. If you're living a life where you're just paying bills and you're not doing anything else, I've been there, my bro. You can do it. You can do anything. Anything. Anywho, this video is getting long. I wanted to keep it around 15 minutes, but this is better. I actually recorded another video on another time, and it was like 30 minutes. I can talk so much. This one turned out a lot better, though. So, peace and love from Nala and I. Going to keep on walking. You won't hear from me for a while. I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks on this hike that I'm going on. My pack's so heavy, guys. I can't. It's so heavy. Backbreaking, but got to be done. I'm so looking forward to it, so excited. It's been building for so long, and tomorrow's the day that we're going. We're hitchhiking out there. It's about an hour from my home base, the start of the walk. So there's a kitty-doo, a big wood pigeon. There's so many around here. So yeah, you won't hear from me for 2 weeks, and then I'll be back sharing more on woofing with you guys. And yeah, so just remember, if you're caught up, just getting by in life, not sure what you're doing, you want vision, go on a vision quest. Doesn't have to be anything grand, or it can be the grandest, most incredible, mind-blowing adventure you ever want. Life's incredible. Life is beautiful. Look at this day. It's weird weather all day. It's rained and then winded and sun and everything all between at the same time. Anywho, peace and love to you all. Yeah, take care.